Is the 2024 Confluence program info session from the Conservation Alliance, and we're super excited to have you all here. I just wanted to, before we start, let you all know that we are recording this session. We'll be sending out the recording hopefully in a future email, and you can share that with others if they're not able to join. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-hosts.
How's it going, everybody? It's good to see all the names popping up on this chat here on the participant list. Good to see you. We're all going to introduce ourselves real quick and then dive into what we're here for, which is talking about the Confluence program and this grant opportunity. My name is Andres Esparza. I'm a conservation professional living out here in Southwest Colorado with my family and friends. Very excited to hear in just a moment where you all are coming in from. And just so you know, I myself don't work for the Conservation Alliance. I'm part of the 6 to 8 person advisory committee that TCA puts together every year to help promote, put together, and select grantees for the Confluence program. The idea with it is that we're all coming from diverse professional, geographic, and lived experience backgrounds. And collectively, we like to think that we can have a broader look at how we both push the grant out and select recipients to do the hard work on the ground. So I'd love to turn it over to one of my co-advisory members, Blair.
Hi, everyone. I'm Blair Canis. I'm president of Kokona Labs, one of the member companies of Conservation Alliance. I'm also on the advisory committee this year. It's been a great experience so far. Kind of my first foray into this type of work in the conservation space. But I am the founder and been working for a long time with the Colorado Poverty Law Project, doing housing advocacy, mostly with rural groups across Colorado. So it's a little bit about me. And Kim, I'll turn it to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Paymaster, she, her pronouns. I am based in Philadelphia, and I am the grants director here at the Conservation Alliance. For those of you that may not be as familiar, the Conservation Alliance is a network of over 250 businesses spanning a wide range of industries, including outdoor recreation, brewing, banking, coffee, kind of a whole span of different industries. And they're all coming together because of their belief and focus on conserving important outdoor areas for communities across North America. And we work very closely with grassroots organizations across the country and across North America to support their work in that same mission. And so we bring our business members and our grantees together in a number of ways, including through the Confluence program. And I'm going to share a bit more about the program in just a minute. But first, I wanted to start off with some land acknowledgements, just noting where we are all sitting. So as I mentioned, I'm in Philadelphia, which is the land of the Lenape people. And I'm going to turn it over to Blair.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Ouray, Colorado, which is the land of the Diné, Pueblos, and Ute people.
And I'm out here very close to Blair in Southwest Colorado, the home as well, the Diné, the Ute, and the Ute Mountain Ute people. As well, we like to begin with a bit of a land acknowledgement of where we're at, but also like to share tools. Kim just pasted something in the chat box right now. If you haven't used this before, it's the Native Land website where you can look up where you're currently at, whether you're traveling or based somewhere for work, and see whose lands you're traditionally on. And it's just one tool of many to just begin the process of acknowledging the land that we get to operate on, but also the history of those places. So real quick, before we dive into telling you all about Confluence and all the great opportunities coming up, we realize there's a number of y'all in the chat right now, and we'd love to get to know you real quick. Here's what we would love is go ahead and in the chat box, go ahead and locate that on the bottom bar if you haven't already, and go ahead and type in your name, your pronouns, and the organization that you're representing today. And if that organization has a website, please pop it in there. We'd love to hear where folks are visiting us from. And then as well, just so we all get a sense of why we're here and what we're doing protecting land, we would love just a one-sentence response to the question, how have you connected with a natural place recently? So name, pronoun, org, And how have you connected with a natural place recently? We'll give you just a moment here to fill up that chat box if possible and introduce yourselves.
Great. And as you're doing that, I just wanted to give you a brief background about the Confluence program in case you're not familiar. So back in 2020, when so many people and organizations were thinking more deeply about equity issues, the Conservation Alliance did a lot of work internally, and we worked with external partners and consultants. And at that time, we realized that less than 1% of our funding was going to groups led by racially marginalized individuals. We also realized with that research that we weren't turning organizations away, rather it was that they weren't applying. So this made it really clear to us that our network didn't represent a coalition of everyone working to protect natural places, and that if we wanted our work to be successful, we needed to do the work of supporting and working with a diverse coalition and do that outreach ourselves. So the Confluence program was then launched in 2021 as a way to expand the Conservation Alliance's network of grantees and business partners. It's our first step to help create new systems and structures that bring all the groups, organizations, and businesses committed to working closer together to protect our shared natural places into one space. The Confluence Program Advisory Committee that Andres mentioned is an important piece of that. Bringing our business members together with those that have experience on the ground expands the voices at the table. We aim to strengthen the environmental movement by building these types of relationships and creating alignment amongst individuals and groups that are critical to the movement, and who bring different perspectives, life experiences, and priorities.
All right. And thank you, folks who are putting in their information. Good to meet you, Julie, Mimi, and Danielle. Appreciate it. So the Conservation Alliance and the Confluence program awards 4 grants to groups led by Asian, Black, Brown, Hispanic, Indigenous, Latin American, or additional communities who identify as people of color seeking to protect a natural place. And we'll go into more detail about what all those things mean. But the top line information here is that each grantee organization, we'll go into those details, receives a $100,000 award over a 2-year period. So that's $50,000 a year for their efforts to do that work, to protect, to conserve, or restore land or water, or foster a planet where natural spaces, wildlife, and people thrive together. So we're going to get into the details of it, the eligibility, and any questions you may have. But that's some of the top line information, and I'll turn it back to Kim here for some more information on the grant highlights.
So one more piece to mention is obviously organizations need the funding, but we wanted this program to go further than that. So once we select our grantees, my goal and the goal of our team here at the Conservation Alliance is to build trustful and meaningful relationships with the groups that we fund through resource sharing and advocacy, as well as communication support. So we try to bring all of our levers to bear to support the work that our grantees are doing. And the support provided by this program is really shaped by the unique needs of each of the groups. And it has included things like blog posts, elevating their work, connections to our business members, and other ways that are helpful to each organization. As well as we also try to elevate the work of our applicants in order to make sure that other funders know about their work. We share the list of groups and projects with other funders, and then we also share the list of groups with other applicants so they can connect with each other.
Thanks, Kim. So some quick top line information. If you're in a rush and you log off in the next couple minutes, or if this is all you hear, maybe this is the top line info to hold in your head. First off, if you go to the website, you can see all the information on the grant and how to apply. And if there's any questions on any of the terms or language we use, there is a glossary of terms at the end of the RFP. I highly encourage going to that if you have any questions at all. But some top line information for you to have is the application deadline is September 13th at midnight. September 13th at midnight. Some additional information that we've received questions before in the past is 501c3 charitable status or fiscal sponsorship are not required. And I know it's a bit of a departure from most grants, and that's what makes us very excited about this grant. You do not need 501c3 status or fiscal sponsorship if you want to do good work in this world. Organizations that have previously been funded through the Confluence program are eligible to reapply if their grants end prior to January 1st, 2025. And those of us on the advisory committee will be reviewing the applications after the deadline as soon as possible, with the goal of selecting up to 10 to be invited for a follow-up interview virtually. So just hold that in your head as top line information as we go into some more details. And I'm going to turn it over to Blair here to talk about specific eligibility, which is one of those big questions we'll get often.
Hi, everybody. I think Kim's going to share her screen here. So for those of you like me who are more visually inclined than just listening to us talk at you, all of this is on the website. So I'm just going to reiterate it, but I'll go quick, leave time for questions. So to qualify for funding, groups and projects have to meet all of the following criteria. So the group and project have to be located in North America. The organization and group must self-identify as being led by historically marginalized people based on race, ethnicity, or natural origin. And that would include groups working with mixed status immigrant families. The Conservation Alliance considers leadership in this case as those with decision-making power on behalf of the entirety of the organization or effort. So the organization and group also must have had a general operating budget of less than $550,000 in the last fiscal year. This wouldn't include any federal or state pass-through funds. And if the group is fiscally sponsored, that budget would be only for the fiscally sponsored group, not for the group that's sponsoring the organization. And the projects have to seek to protect, conserve, or restore land and or water in their efforts to foster a planet where natural places, wildlife, and people thrive together. So restoration projects include ecosystem recovery through wheat rewilding or rehabilitation of land and water. And the projects also have to be able to demonstrate how they are centering solutions led by impacted communities. So I'll just stop there. We can definitely cover if you have any eligibility questions at the end of this session.
Thank you, Blair. So real quick, we're going to read partially from the website here just to make sure we're all on the same page, but add in a little bit of information here. We are going to prioritize the following types of projects, but these are not requirements. So you can be creative in how we think about conservation. We're looking at conservation projects, grant proposals that address the social, cultural, and environmental needs of a community and or region. So again, not just the land, not just animals, but how do we address all those needs? Specifically, we want to support places or geographies that support climate resiliency and biodiversity. And so in the chat, I just dropped in a tool called the Climate Atlas tool. If you haven't seen it before, it's this amazing tool that allows you to look at an area and via different layers and data input, learn about what is the biodiversity, what is the carbon sequestration, what is the habitat value of that place. And again, this is a tool that we use to kind of quantify the places that we need to protect. These conservation projects that we're going to prioritize are also ones that improve access to close to home recreation or healthy outdoor places, particularly those that are accessed by public transportation. And I think this is a really great priority, especially for folks operating out of or near a large urban area. We may not have wilderness right in our back door, but we have tons of land that people go to connect. Tons of land that contributes to a healthy planet and healthy communities. And we want to know, what are those projects that you have in mind that connect people with those places? Again, we are looking for projects that increase opportunities for historically marginalized communities to authentically engage and participate in public land and conservation management decision-making processes. As we think about public lands in the future, how are the demographics of today informing how we protect our land for the future? Those are the questions we love to hear about. Projects that uplift or center traditional ecological knowledge, history, or culture are absolutely important for us. Again, as we think about the lands that we operate on and the places we're at, we want to both acknowledge who's been there before, but also how it's been managed in the past as we look to a thriving future. Projects that focus on groups working in collaboration with others to protect land or water are especially exciting to us. None of us alone can do everything, but together we can do a lot. And we want to see that partnership, that networking happening in local communities. Projects where the resources, staff, revenue, capacity, that sort of thing, and strategy align well with the intended goals and outcomes. Again, being realistic in your projects and having the capacity to follow through with the wonderful ideas that y'all dream up. And we are going to prioritize applicants that have not been funded through the Confluence program before, but that does not mean you are not eligible if you've been awarded. All it means is we really want to spread the love and impact of this grant opportunity. So we're going to look first to brand new folks, but we're happy to revisit projects, especially if they've had deep, meaningful impact in the communities. So as we think about the history of this grant program and what's been possible, I'm going to turn it back over to Kim here to maybe highlight a small handful of projects and grantees that have been inspiring and may inspire you to think of new ways to connect community with land.
Great, thank you. So one of the things, we have a lot of information on our website that I would encourage you to check out. This is one of the grant announcements from last year's Confluence program, and you'll find more information about the 4 grantees that were awarded last year and now have a 2-year grant from us. And so one of those was the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, an organization that is working closely with tribal groups out in California to help designate a marine sanctuary out there. And we are not only supporting their work on the designation piece, but we are also looking to support their work to create the scientific and indigenous knowledge base that will inform the management planning of this landscape once it is designated. So really thinking about not just getting to that one success, but like how does planning for that landscape work after, and making sure that the diversity of voices are at the table. So that's one of our organizations that we have funded recently. We've also funded organizations like, I'm going to try to get it on the right screen here. This one is the Fort Worth Prairie Park and Recreation Area in Texas. It's an organization that is doing restoration work on a huge landscape near Fort Worth, and they are working with young people, previously incarcerated individuals, and others to do a lot of that work on the land and find connections and healing through that process. And so it's a really unique program that builds on community as well as landscape restoration. So those are 2. I would encourage you to spend some time on our website, look at some of the other projects to see the diversity in types of work that we have funded. And then if you have questions about a specific project, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to just pass it over to Blair for a couple more things.
Hi, everybody. Going back to that same website that we put in the chat, conservationalliance.com/confluence, you'll see there's a whole series of FAQs here. So I'm not going to cover all of them, one by one. Feel free to review them. But, just a couple of them that we did want to go over is, if I apply for a Confluence program grant, does that mean, can I still apply for funding through the other member-directed grant programs, which is another series of grants that the TCA offers? And the answer to that is yes. So just because you're applying for this grant doesn't mean you would be ineligible for these other programs as well. And then also, how are we working to spread the word about this and to reach out to groups who are being led by historically marginalized groups. We are reaching out through all of our networks as an advisory committee. Our member companies are trying to share the word and the grant opportunity through their network and social media followers. We're trying to really grow this community year after year organically. I'm very excited to have all of you here showing interest in it. In not only this, but our other grant funding, I think this idea of inclusiveness is really important to the TCA, and it is part of all of the grants that TCA does.
Excellent. So that will hopefully answer some of the questions that you all have. But again, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. I will make sure to put my email in the chat in case you don't already have it. And then I just wanted to take 1 minute to just show you all how to access the application from our website. So if you go to conservationalliance.com and go to the Confluence page under grants, you will scroll down and you'll see the Apply Now button here. And then that will take you to our new platform. You can set up an account right here. It should be fairly straightforward. If you already have an account, you can go ahead and put in your credentials right there. I'm going to quickly sign in and show you what that looks like. Once you get into the system, you will see a homepage here with an overview of all of our grant programs. And then you will also just be able to click up here to grant application. And you would click on Confluence, which is the only highlighted one open right now. Once you click on there, you will see a lot of the information that the three of us mentioned today. So you can read through that in more detail. And then you can click on either this link here, which will give you a PDF of the application that you can look through, start preparing some of your responses before you get into the system. Or you can go right in and click Apply Now. And that will take you to the questions from there. So you would just go through and fill in the questions. Some of these first ones are going to be around eligibility, so please make sure you read them in detail before you start. And then you'll find, that it goes through and asks you about your organization. It'll ask you about the work that you're doing, your budget. And so if you just go through and put all of those things in, you'll continue to do that. The final page will ask you to, I'm not going to get to it because you don't want to watch me fill this out, but the final page will ask you to go ahead and click a submit box and then click the submit button. And you would need to do both of those for it to be final. Once you are done with your application, you can click under My Applications here. You'll see I've submitted many applications testing the system. So you can go through and you can go back and see all of your responses by clicking on this link over here. So feel free to, again, contact me if you have any questions with our system, but hopefully it's fairly straightforward. And from there, we wanted to make sure we left a few minutes for any questions that you all may have. Feel free to raise your hand and we will, have that conversation here, or to put it in the chat, either is fine. And if we don't get to your question in time, we'll be sure to contact you afterwards.